All right, we're live. Good morning, YouTube. Everybody out there, I'm going to have to get to work to find some information real quick. But we're going to start off with the world's fastest sinking city. Who knew? It's a pretty bizarre story. This is on the Weather Channel, just anecdotal story for the day. So, Jakarta, Indonesia is sinking, and it's the world's fastest. Apparently, there's a race. I didn't know. But this was an interesting find. I just checked it out. They're building a seawall, all this stuff, people sucking water out. It's sinking feet a year. There's 10 million people there, and it's sinking at a rate of nearly 10 inches a year. Go check that out. That's in the Weather Channel in the links.
Over 40% of the city is below sea level. It's sinking because of the depletion of the aquifer that sits atop. Now, 2/3 of the city gets their water from wells that are dug into this aquifer, which would be fine, except the aquifer isn't being recharged. Typically, rainwater would seep into the earth and fill the aquifer, but all the concrete and buildings are preventing the rain from being absorbed. And what's worse is that the weight of the infrastructure is also making the city sink. Adding insult to injury is sea level rise. Jakarta is in the process of building a small seawall to try and combat the rising water.
All right, so there's your apocalypse video of the day, I guess. Yeah, bizarre stuff. It's in the links. It's interesting information of what's going on there. 10 million people. It's like worse than New Orleans. Who figured that was possible? But there's your weather. Yeah, Barry, good morning. We're getting lots of rain here as well. It is coming down in buckets. I think it finally got here if Sparks is able to join us. We finally got what he was talking about. Hey, what's up, Stan? You talking about Jakarta? I don't think it's climate change. You talking about my rain? My rain might be because of climate change. I'm not sure. But yeah, pretty crazy stuff there. Morning, Tommy boy. I don't know if America's checking in, but they might hear you if you type it loud enough, I guess. But yeah, lots of rain on both coasts. Snow all the way down into Oklahoma. It looks like ice. Snow's coming over M Long right about now. He got it. He was thinking it was coming. Yeah, definitely weather coast to coast still, similar to yesterday. So batten down the hatches and fill your sandbags. It's a coming. Let me bounce over to some information I wanted to pull up. So I only got a few things pulled up. If you guys want to throw some ideas out, I didn't get too deep into it. There's a good article on 1984 over in the Zero Hedge, talking about 1984. Now, Oceana, 'tis for thee. That's got a nice song to it. We got to. So he taught. Just go into the comparisons of the modern formation of the modern world and the way Orwell formed it in 1984, and the comparisons that wow, it's coming. That's just will make you feel good, I guess you'd say, or not. But it says we see a parallel in today's world with huge defense budgets and troop deployments keeping contracts on the move and siphoning off a considerable amount of national revenues to keep the patriotic war machine moving. Irrespective of each nation, the psychology keep the population agitated and on a continual war footing using a threat, either real or created or imagined, to accomplish this. Goodness, I did a video on this like 5 years ago. But it's good people keep putting it out there for the public because most people don't get it and haven't read 1984 for that matter. They don't know what the feds are using as a guide for all this madness. They don't realize there was actually a book written decades ago to give them the idea to do it. How to proceed efficiently, I guess, would be a good way to say it. Says you are witnessing the final alignment of those spheres of influence that are most identical to the novel Orwell wrote. Look at the situation with the alleged Russian poisoning of an intelligence operative and his daughter in Britain, the United States showing solidarity with Great Britain, expelling the 60 diplomats and closed the Russian consulate in Seattle. Russia countered by ordering the expulsion of the equal amount of American personnel, yada, yada. Yet the interesting fact is that other nations who followed suit in the humanitarian crusade of the alleged Russian poisoning, the poisoning may have been done by the British, not the Russians. The U.S. State Department has made several statements to the tune that the Russians do not see eye to eye with us or share our values of freedom and democracy. Keep throwing that word democracy around like we actually are supposed to live by it. It's a bad situation. So I'm trying to track down a story while I'm talking to you guys. I got that we haven't talked about, and I've seen it briefly, and I'm going to try to bring it up this morning. Talks about the Ukraine expelled Russian diplomats. Ukraine is a vassal state of the United States and the IMF, which I've talked about extensively on here. So it just goes into the comparisons and how the structure is forming country to country with 1984, and we're in for bad times, friends. Bad times indeed. Who we got in here with us? Stan Ulch is with us. Tommy Boy, Southern Ark Homestead. How you doing? Good morning. Good morning, Alicia. You can do it. I hope your coffee's better than mine. Tommy Boy's rain, and we're getting rain here as well. Oh, is the Fallout game similar to Stan? I'm not familiar with that, but I'll take your word for it. Tommy Boy made his first kid in 1984. My friend in high school has a good theory that the breakup of Van Halen caused the destruction of the world in 1984 because of that whole fallout out. So yeah, 1984 has got a lot of symbolism to it. Yeah, there you go. Good catch, Barry. The CDC guy was found drowned. There's nothing to see here. He just fell in and was discovered months later. And it goes off with, in the end, the world would not notice its enslavement because the generations capable of creative thought and reason have been replaced by a stultified, obedient mass of humanity only capable of acting in a manner predetermined by the rulers. The world of 1984 is forming today. The gulags are just around the corner. They'll have occupants as soon as the time is right. Not at gunpoint, the people will enter the camps on their own accord, enslaved with the baits of entitlements and material conveniences. The world of 1984 was written about years ago, but is upon us now, and before we know it, we will be in it. We've talked, are we not in it already? Well, maybe individually, but not the big global structure that he's talking about here. The focus of this article is on the global structure of all the countries against each other. But it does seem as though we are in it ourselves as well daily with all the cameras, etc., etc. So that's an interesting article to go check out. I don't know. It's not a feel-good article, and if just like the book, it's not a feel-good book. You have to steady your nerves when you read something like that. So let me pull that up. Thanks for the reminder. The story on the CDC guy, I had not looked into that this week. I kind of briefly posted it on the G Plus yesterday, or Thursday night, when they found his body. But everybody remembers a couple weeks ago, he was found dead 2 months after he vanished, not like anywhere off the radar. So this is out of Time magazine.
Farmers, we've seen almost everything, so we know how to cover almost anything, even close claws. We took your shortcuts.
Yeah. Don't care. He was found dead Tuesday night in the Chattahoochee River, which runs near his home. Apparently they didn't search there when they were looking for him. The cause of death was drowning. No signs of trauma to the body to indicate he died of anything but drowning. Does that make sense to anybody? What's the Chattahoochee running at there, Tommy boy? Does it run from Chattanooga down through Atlanta, or does it come out? Where does it come out or start at? 63. Yeah, Tommy boy, you're a little over the hill. Nah, you'll be all right. Right? Yeah, but doesn't the Chattahoochee run from you? Doesn't it run drier in the winter? Well, I don't know how you guys have been getting so much rain. It probably has been running pretty high. Think he just walked down there from his house and slipped in on his morning run one morning and went for a fall? He was an avid collector of rare stones, had 3 crystals in his pocket, and was found wearing his favorite jogging shoes. Oh, goodness. His parents reported him missing on February 14th, 2 days after he found out he wasn't getting a promotion and stopped contacting members of his family. Went home sick on the 12th after that. You really think he drowned himself? Says he left behind his dog, wallet, car, and phone in his home. His parents flew from Maryland to Atlanta to check on him. They say the promotion had nothing to do with his disappearance at the time. He studied the health differences between people from various backgrounds, including race, gender, geography, class. According to his biography on the CDC's website, Cunningham has also been deployed to help public health emergencies, Superstorm Sandy, Ebola, Zika virus as well. He was part of those, probably went to Africa and different things. And they totally skipped it. Let's find a different article here. That's the implication, Barry, that he was a whistleblower for one of the vaccines, but you can't find anybody to talk about that. That's for sure. But so here it is from Reddit. And pull this up. This is the only thing that goes into this, we'll say, the conspiratorial side of it, for lack of any other description. Man who claimed flu shot caused outbreak found dead and drowned. So they reference the article that came out at the time, February 22nd, that somebody did. So he had warned of the disastrous flu shot may be responsible for the flu epidemic at the time. Yeah, because we've had if you go through this year's flu history, obviously there's issues. The fact that the flu shot's ineffective, I don't know, would have led to this. It's just the flu shot that's been ineffective for a long time. It depends on what kind of supposition he was making, I guess. But this is probably where most of us saw the beginning of this. Yeah, it's got all the markings of a good, investigative police thrill movie. Detective goes in and finds who the real killer is. Last seen leaving work, etc., etc. All that, nobody else seen him. His family that says he would never do this. Found months later. In January, Dr. Cunningham shared his opinion about this year's flu shot behind the deadly outbreak of the flu, while warning that if his name was attached to the widely circulated quotes, he would lose his job or suffer an even worse fate. Where did he share that opinion at? Was that a printed document, or did he tell? Are they saying this is word of mouth? Are they quoting him in a Newswire article? I have to look into that, I guess. This tweet and articles from February 9th. So there's some background there, and I know people were tracking a lot of that down, and the fact that he was found now seemingly undisturbed, that he just slip and fall in the river at high water mark for some reason and drowned. I mean, to drown himself would take an inordinately large amount of effort, which is kind of the implication, because, he didn't get promoted, and, he just went and offed himself. Like, yeah, drowning yourself is not really an option. Just throwing himself in the Chattahoochee, how far downstream would he have went before they found him? Interesting. Odd, yet interesting. Hard to say. Can't keep track of everything, but hey, Southern Arc, have a good day. Welcome, Try and Survive, M. Harrison. Good morning. So next thing I'm going to bring up is everybody following this Almost Texas situation. I had briefly seen the protest to Open Carry Texas when they were in the middle of town and the cops came over and tasered them. That may have been last week. But I hadn't really followed it, but apparently it's becoming a minor outbreak, I guess you would say. But it's unnerving when things like that can happen in a place like Texas, that it's just a matter of time before it spreads, or has spread already. Just people in Texas are a little more ornery than other places and not willing to put up with it. So let me get over here and I just pulled up like 4 different things to look into. Pulling those CDC links over in the description box. They'll be in there if you refresh or after it goes live. After it renders to check out. See how I can get all these stories over here without So from what I understand, the city of Almost Texas went against state law, declared a gun-free zone, and people started protesting it, and the sheriff started cracking down, cracking heads. That's the short version. short version. So we'll pull some of this up and see what we get. Let me close some of this out to save some bandwidth. So this story's from March 30th. I believe they did the rally last week. Let me back up to this is April 4th. That's San Antonio paper. I've got a Oathbreaker, My San Antonio. This is an older article. So try to go in these in sequential order to try to look at what's going on. So that's March 29th. So yeah, I got a tip this morning from Zach Mars out there in Texas on the G+, who kind of basically said they're getting sued into oblivion, people getting illegally arrested, et cetera, et cetera. And I want to check it out. It is coming down outside. They doped him and threw him in the river, Jay Sparks, right? Dope him with something that won't track in his blood that'll dissipate. So this is from my San Antonio, I guess almost as near San Antonio, I would imagine. Seems to be. So they had a City Hall meeting Thursday, the March 29th, City Hall meeting. This picture, don't tase me, bro. Yeah, there's a video on YouTube, and I'd have to look back to see where it was, where they were out there protesting this city. What do they call them when the city council passes a resolution or whatever? And they were out there protesting it, and the sheriff come up and surrounded them. And this story might go into that. Even this, okay, this is my San Antonio saying this. The ordinance was a clear violation of state law, which allows individuals to open carry a long gun without a license. State law also prohibits local municipalities from preempting state law by regulating the transfer, ownership, or carrying of firearms. It's funny how Nevada has a similar law, but yet northern Las Vegas makes up their own rules, and did or at least they did for the longest time. That might have stopped a couple of years ago, but there was a long period of time there when North Vegas did whatever they wanted to. The local ordinance came to light earlier this week when C.J. Grisham, president of Open Carry Texas, was arrested and tased during a small gun rights demonstration. It was small. There were a couple of other people. You can see the video. So this has been a couple weeks. 2 other arrests were activated. So the leader of Open Carry Texas was arrested and tased, and 2 other people, activists, were arrested at the same time. And I saw that, and they were videotaping. I turned it off after that because that made me so mad. Police charged Grisham, who's a retired Army sergeant who founded Open Carry Texas, with assault of a police officer. Of course, he had a firearm in his presence. We talked about this for the longest time, was what they were trying to get as a precedent in the Bundy case, was that if you just hold a firearm near a federal agent, it's assault. Can't even be on the same grid square. Resistance will not be tolerated, as they say. Interfering with duties of a public servant, which he didn't. The police came to him, and obstructing a roadway. He was on the sidewalk. James Everhard, 35, faces a charge of interfering with the duties of a public servant, and Joanna Castro, 44, has been charged with obstruction of a roadway. She may have actually crossed the road, but I think that's it. But James Everhard was the guy videotaping. Police suggested additional charges, but those were rejected either by Bexar County District Attorney or the magistrate. That's not that video is not from this incident. It's a separate playthrough. Arrests have drawn ire from gun rights activists. Do you think? Protesters say the arrests have followed a pattern of similar behavior by officers with Olmos Park. Between February 7th and March 17th, 3 other activists who were open carrying Olmos were arrested, detained, or threatened with during similar demonstrations. City officials have refused to discuss the arrests or the ordinance, which dates to at least 1985. So they've got had this old ordinance on the books, and people are finally protesting it, and they just enforcing the law, just doing their job, right? That's what they always claim. They'll claim ignorance no matter how the lawsuit goes, and the city will have to pay for it. Instead of taking it out on the people who are supposed to uphold an oath and understand principles, but they just follow their leaders and do what they're told. Videos of the incident. This might be one. Went viral on the internet, including the one where Grisham is being released from jail with a large wound on his head. The video had 120,000 views as of this writing on 29 March, so it's probably well exceeded that. Roughly 24 protesters from Open Carry Texas and Texas Freedom Force attended the city council meeting, which we saw the sign at the very top of the article. City Council went into executive session to discuss possible legal challenge to city ordinance, according to city records. After they returned after an hour, Councilman Pellegrino motioned to repeal the ordinance, and the city council unanimously agreed. One city council member was absent. Okay. And they vowed a protest rally on Olmos Park on April 7th. So did something happen after this? It sounds like they repealed it on the 29th. Don't tase me, bro. Let's go to the next one. Anybody else see this stuff? Anybody else looked into any of this over the last couple weeks? I can't be the only one. Awful quiet out there. Here's the video. It's Justin Pullman, March 20. This is a mirrored video, probably. This is only 31,000 views. I'll copy that in the description box as well if you want to watch that. All right. See, here's another San Antonio Express. It says Open Carry Texas plans to flout law with rally. But this is March 30th. They just said the day before they repealed it. So San Antonio Express is much more liberal rag, it looks like. They were worried about counter protests, but Antifa. This is back again in March, so that's probably not current. Put these links in the description box. Yeah, here's the article. Almost Park repeals loaded gun ordinance. Loaded long gun ordinance. Do they have a short gun ordinance? This is ABC 12. So Thursday, again, they repealed it back on March 29th. So I'm not sure what the issue is, unless the police are still running around tasing people for lawful conduct. Which I think is part of that. They plan to go ahead with a rally on April 7th, which is today, what they're calling the Almost Park PD Forced Education Rally, which I heard them mention in that video. They kind of talk about you're going to learn, you're going to have to be taught how to treat people right. So there's something going on today, it looks like. You could probably go to Open Carry Texas on Facebook or other places to kind of see that. They probably got a live stream going of some sort. I don't have any direct connections. So this article breaks down what's allowed based on the law from 2016, which nullified that Almost Park. What do they call that? Their city resolution. The law does not prohibit the carrying of a long gun or long firearm, such as a rifle or shotgun, in a public place in a manner that is not calculated to alarm. So slung at the ready, I guess you should say. So the issue now, it looks like that they're going to discuss today at this rally, is out of control police of Almost Park. What's this video of? This is a different video, it looks like. They've been rally after the fact.
Leaving the Hampton for a meeting. Problem is, your
And we got to deal with the ad to get there.
You got this. Anna, new clients?
No.
Free hot breakfast will be there for you. Look at Hampton.com for a guaranteed discount. Hampton by Hilton.
There's a debate over open carry playing out on the streets of Almost Park. Today, its city council unanimously repealed an ordinance against carrying loaded rifles or shotguns on public streets.
The decision follows weeks of confrontations between police and gun rights activists. Garrett Berger talks with the group behind the most recent one.
We told you guys you were going to learn. Today's your education. This video shows a confrontation between
Oh, that was out in front of the cell station. I didn't even realize.
and Almost Park police officers Tuesday as the group openly carries weapons along the street. It's an argument that ends in cuffs. I'm not doing anything. On the ground. Hey, look, man. I'm not doing anything. Openly carrying
Yeah, there's the video.
is legal in Texas.
So that's another article. So let's see if we can find anything else. So the rally's planned today. I'll look into that. I'll put these links again in the description box. I'll go through. I got several other articles pulled up here just to run it down, but it looks like they're just rallying against the overreaching police force now, which more places probably need to do. It looks like this is from Wednesday, April 4th. Again, it's my San Antonio. After those arrests, gun ordinance repeals in the San Antonio suburbs. So do these places have resolutions? What do they call them? Ordinances previously? Alamo Heights and Hollywood Park repealed their local ordinance that prohibited anyone other than an authorized police officer from carrying a loaded rifle or shotgun on public streets. So those places followed suit after they saw the mess and didn't want any police officers getting out of line. So they repealed theirs as well to follow suit. So it's a classic case of the police chief, it looks like, trying to enforce something that was unenforceable just because he wanted to infringe on people, I would say. I mean, I can't think of another reason. It's not like people are harming anybody or there's really any crime going on, or you're not preventing any crime if you. It's not like it's a lax city ordinance or state ordinance that allows criminals to run rampant. But yeah, okay. So that's all in the description box. Go check out. Quite a few there. But let me go check back in with you guys. Anybody looked that up yet to see what the rally's like today? Hey, good morning, Stefan. China aircraft carrier, Tommy boy, we mentioned that Chinese aircraft carrier in the China Sea like 2 weeks ago. No, it wasn't that long ago, but they did send that fleet down there for show of force type of thing. Not really a big deal if you ask me, but is what it is. You can do it. You just can't watch the news anymore, right? We were talking about that in the chat the other night, and I was like trying to think of the last time I watched news on TV. Like, wow, when was the last time? Or maybe at the airport, I guess, because it's TVs are there with the news on. That only happens like once or twice a year. Yeah, that's the truth. Try and survive. Not so united anymore. It's just a matter of fraying at the edges. Stitching is start to come undone. Good morning, Stefan. How are you? I guess it's evening there. Yeah, Stefan, as we were talking about earlier, the local law was written back in the 80s when Texas state law was written differently, but Texas changed their laws in 2016 and it preempts local ordinances, but the local cops didn't see it that way and they were enforcing old law that they weren't basically allowed to. They're going to get their butts sued off. Right, Stefan. Well, you can be arrested pretty much anywhere without a gun, so you just look wrong ways nowadays and you get arrested a lot of times. So there's a rally today in Almost. Might want to keep our eyes open for that. See if there's a live streamer going down. And what time is it there? It's roughly 9:42 in the a.m. Their Central Time. They probably don't start the rally for maybe another hour or so. If I can find any information on it, I will pass it on the G Plus or Twitter. It should be interesting to follow. Let me actually ask if I can find that comment again. So they're for sure sending troops to the border. We've seen, I guess, Arizona and Texas will have troops going to the border soon, or should I say National Guard. It's not like we repurposed any Army soldiers. They just took people out of their civilian jobs, put them in the National Guard uniform, and are going to send them to the border. Kind of backwards thinking in my part. Oh, here's an update from Bikes and Bullets. Check that out. Open carry update. How old is this? That's March 30th. Yeah, that's old. All right. Not really seeing anything new on that. But yeah, so they are deploying the National Guard. And they're directed to assist the Border Patrol as Zero Hedge is covering here. Sessions put out that zero tolerance memo yesterday. If you had a chance to read that, Sessions put it out to his deputy attorneys general throughout the states. The swarms of agents, as was described in the Declaration of Independence. But this is covered in several places. If you want to look it up, it's not hard to find about the troop deployments. It says the troops will be armed for self-defense depending on mission. The commander of the Texas Army National Guard said it's premature right now to know what the cost will be. Well, the cost is going to be way too much. When you factor in all the deadweight loss from their civilian jobs, hiring replacements for the indefinite amount of time they're going to be down there, etc. National Guard's efforts will include aviation, engineering, surveillance, communications, vehicle maintenance, and logistical support. It will be a joint effort between the federal and state level management under what's known as Title 32. Governors retain control of the National Guard. However, the federal government will finance the patrols. 150 Arizona Guard members will deploy next week. Texas National Guard confirmed deployment of 250 troops over the next 72 hours as the initial surge. A surge, they're calling it. Sounds familiar terminology, doesn't it? So they were already mobilizing at 7 p.m. Friday at the Armed Forces Reserve Center in Austin. So I still don't understand why we have money budgeted in the DoD budget, like we covered a couple weeks ago, to guard the borders of Tunisia and Jordan. but yet we can't redeploy those assets here. It's funny how that works. Or maybe not funny. Funny's not the right word. So I'll put this link in the description box for us as well. So there's always something to look up. Anybody got any other pet peeves they want to get into while we're here? Pet peeves might be the wrong term. Can I do pop-out chat from here? Look at, I should have done that a long time ago. That probably is going to make things work better. Rusty Faith, good morning. How you doing? Sparks, maybe we should look at this deployment as a sign that something is coming here. And like we've talked about, Sparks, every president for the last 3 or 4 has done this at some point in time. I mean, there were the JTF missions in the 90s under Clinton where you had whole, what they call joint task force working with DEA. They considered it all counter drug. And then they had that Marine shot that Shepherd kid coming across into Texas. And that all ended after that. I mean, this is not really, I would say, anything new. But, you know, it is what it is. That caravan thing is something like it's way too many people for the situation, etc. Southern Arc left us, checked out. Let me catch up and back up a little bit. 1645 where you are, Stefan. 1649. Okay. Paris time. I see. To keep us contained for what's coming. Well, they wouldn't use the National Guard for that, I don't think, because that would include them in a large respect. Tommy Boy, didn't a while back they have Chinese troops waiting in Mexico, something waiting. You've got me, you've lost me there, Tommy Boy. I have no idea what you're talking about. That's sounds like some good conspiracy theory though. It'd just be hard to prove, even if it did exist. Anybody didn't see the weather map? It's raining everywhere just about, it seems like. I'm trying to look up if there's any more information on those protests today. You can do it. You can always find conspiracy vids on YouTube about the UN attacking us. I don't think they've changed necessarily that much, not the border thing at least. And this is minuscule when you talk about these 400 troops they're talking about. That's a minuscule amount compared to the thousands that have been done in the past. I don't see a correlation or an escalation necessarily. And if that's the case, we can all just go to Canada and Stan will invite us to his house. I don't see any issues with the northern border. If there was if this was to be happening on the northern border, then we might be concerned about the bigger picture, because that's definitely a escalation, I guess you would say. The situation has changed in that regard. Yeah, top row judge talks about the border troops deployment. They have this video of this guy jumping the wall like that's anything new. I don't know what that's supposed to prove. Long, how's it going? Are you knee deep in snow yet? Looks like you're getting some this fine April spring day. Tommy Boy says they need a bump stock rally to the White House and say, "What's up?" Yeah, you want to talk about a gun-free zone? Washington, D.C.'s it. You know what I'm saying? Long, you got an inch of snow. Nice. Dick, Roscoe show? Really? Is that the best? What kind of name is that? Are you guys over in Almost Park? Oh, they're from the Netherlands. The Netherlands? Wow, that's quite the international outreach. I'm about ready to shut it down, but do what you think you need to do. That doesn't bother me any. Just call you when the shooting starts. It'll start happening in your backyard before mine, probably, Sparks. I don't know. You might have to E&E over the mountains. If you can get through the rain, that is. So you follow the Q, do you, Stefan? You follow Q on, is he on Reddit or Twitter or wherever he's at? I never got into that. Speaking of Twitter, let me bounce over to see what's trending. So if you're just getting here late, we put a bunch of links below talking about the CDC scientist who was found drowned this week. Pulled up a couple articles on that and the auspicious circumstance. Talking about the Board of Open Carry Texas rally today. The situation in Almost Park. There is an open rally, though, to now protest the overreaching police force, basically, and their lack of oath keeping and the oath breakers involved there. And then if you didn't know the weather in your area, it's probably raining or snowing because that's pretty much everywhere, or it's going to it sometime this weekend. So hopefully the things don't get too busy this weekend. You would think that might be trending on. Today is National Beer Day, apparently. Who knew? Or was that yesterday? There's always a day for something. Is it really National Beer Day? What? There you go. So that's you can't close on a better note than that. Today's National Beer Day. Kampai. Salud. Skull. This could get out of hand. Might have to have Tony fire up a drunk chat if we're going to have that going on. You can do it. The bump stock thing, you're talking about the federal level ban. It's still in writing process, I believe. GOA, Gun Owners of America, put out a action alert Thursday on the issue to contact your representatives in the ATF. The ATF is writing the proposal, I believe, on the to be added to their regulations. So it's a unconstitutional, unlegislatively approved administrative procedure that the ATF does just to make it. Yeah, like Try and Survive says, they're adding it as a machine gun part on the ATF's list. That's the proposal. So GOA put out a notice. You can probably look at that on their website, among other things. So yeah, that's going down. And I think there's other things involved other than just the bump stock. And that's what they really put the alert out, is like, this is not a small thing. It is a administrative action that creates law, once again, that is contravenes the authority of Congress, basically, and it bans other things just more than just bump stocks. Yeah, this National Beer Day thread is pretty neat. So as Stone Cold Steve Austin would say, there you go. I think we'll wrap it up, folks, unless they see what else, any final comments. I didn't hear what you're talking about. You could do. You might want to track that statement. I don't know what you're talking about. I've got a trigger finger, which is all I really need to make a rapid fire weapon. There's plenty of ideas on how to make a similar bump stock action by just your belt loop, other small ways to rig up your rifle on your side, and that's all over YouTube. You know, put your finger in your belt loop through your trigger guard and fire away, among other things. And I can fire at the rapid rate anyway, just and hold it on target in your shoulder too. You don't have to have a bump stock per se. But they're finding a way to ban a bunch of other stuff too, along with this. That's the problem. It's more than just bump stocks, which we knew. It's like everything else. It's always a first step in. As we were talking about Thursday night with this whole Deerfield, Illinois ban, like, it's got to be challenged and put down, even though there's like probably nobody that is affected in that jurisdiction. It's got to contravene because it is a beta test on what they can get away with. National Checkpoint Day, Sparks. You could do it's getting drunk. Try and survive. What's the problem? The bump stock thing you're talking about? A car ran into a crowd in Germany. That was just now, Tommy Boy, or this morning? Where did you see that? Is that another one of our misled refugees has driven a car? Oh, there it is right there. Frozen. Killing and injuring multiple people, developing. Yeah. It says 8 hours ago. So it was last night in Germany. and Munster. And that says developing. That was 8 hours ago. There's got to be a more current story than that. You got to ban cars in Europe, you know, Stefan. That's what you really got to do. If you would ban cars, everybody'd be safer, right? Did this story get crushed overnight? Stefan, do you follow the Catalonian Spain situation with the Catalonian independence vote? Do you follow that at all, Stefan? I've been talking about that for quite a long time. It's just hard to follow over here. I do not see an article about this car running into the crowd by the same people that put it out last night. It's not on their front row. Yeah, they disappeared that down the memory hole quick. If that's an 8-hour story, you'd think there would be something more current on that. But alas, no. And that's the only link on Drudge. Oh, it's on Fox now, Tommy Boy? Okay. Any details on it that they're saying? I hate going to Fox. I hate going to Fox. Let's see. Good morning, home runner. How's it going? Sparks, no illegal DUI checkpoint day. Show me your papers day. Show me the papers. Right? It's not on their internet site yet, Tommy Boy. At least it's not up anywhere near the top. It's got the hockey team bus crash at the very top. So did they say, Tommy Boy, if it was a downtrodden refugee who happened to lose control of his vehicle in that situation? Yeah, home runner, you're probably getting rain like we are, I would imagine. Nothing. It was a half-minute clip just saying, hey, somebody wrecked a car in Germany. That's awesome. Yeah, it's always a nice, thorough journalism, right? Yeah, I'm not even seeing it on their world page on the internet. And now you know why I hate going to Fox. They talk about it on TV and they don't even put it on their internet site. It's not even on their world page. It's not even in their video clips. Nope. Very inefficient. Hey, oh, that's funny.
Every local media is going to be out there today.
So it looks like
See the trees blowing in the background there. Wind is blowing at about 15 to 20 miles per hour. It's about 50 degrees.
there is a brief live feed out of Almost, Texas. If we can figure out.
Have fun these lawsuits, guys. Every penny that you guys have ever donated goes straight to the lawsuit. We couldn't have got the lawsuit filed so quickly if it wasn't for you guys. Channel, veterans.
So there is a brief rally going on. It started, it looks like, but it is a secondary feed. I don't know where the original feed is coming from. I'll put this in the description box if you guys want to go check it out. But I don't know where the original feed is coming from. That's our friends that dropped by earlier in here are doing that, putting that together. So go check that out. And we'll go from there. All right, we're over time, folks. Have a good weekend. If we don't see you in a chat or anything else this weekend, have a good one. There was Tommy Boy. There was no AR-15 in the vehicle, so it's a nothing burger. All right. Okay, folks. Again, have a good weekend. Live free.